What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It is time for live, full-time reaction to Banik Ostrava 2, Celtic 4 in the Czech Republic. Our third pre-season friendly of the build-up to the season is done. It's another win. I say another win. We did draw at the weekend, 3-3 against Rapid Vienna, Stuart. But I thought that one tonight was again entertaining, as they always are under Ange. But a good atmosphere and a good crowd. I think it was Banik Ostrava's 100-year anniversary, but that creates a good environment for a pre-season friendly to test the players.
Absolutely, it does. I think what I liked about it was there was a sense of occasion, and sometimes when you watch these pre-season games, they can be a bit, I don't know, lifeless. There can be like injections of pace, injections of tempo, all of that kind of stuff. But this felt from the start like there was a sense of occasion, definitely for the home team, and for Celtic. What impressed me was the way that they tried to impose. I mean, it nearly went very wrong. The way that they tried to impose themselves in the game. 30 seconds in, and Joe Hart's nearly on the edge of the centre circle, and then there's nearly a David Beckham length against Wimbledon type goal flies in for Banik Ostrava. But do you know what? It was a good run out. But what impressed me was I think there was good cohesion in the attacking side of the game. A few questions defensively, definitely with that opening goal. It was, do you know what it was kind of reminiscent of? Was Trent Alexander-Arnold in the Champions League, where he just falls asleep at the back post. It was a different area of the pitch, different kind of ball. But a couple of questions about that defensively. But I think what's good to see is that Celtic team, whenever they're up against it, at 3, see when they get the goal back at 3-2, I thought, this could be a game we could draw, or we could maybe even lose here. Just because
the weekend, didn't we?
Once they changed the defence, it looked like the kind of cohesion had gone at that side of the park. But then once again, they lifted it, got the goal at the other end. So, it's good. I just love how much attacking potential this team has anytime they step in the pitch. It's brilliant.
You can see that the attacking quality is there. Obviously, we did go behind, as you say, the ball to the back post. Janovic just gets beat, but we respond. And as I say, the atmosphere is almost like a European game. I know Banik Ostrava aren't household European name, but a good atmosphere for the team to play in. And then we did respond. And in the first half, Matt O'Reilly absolutely stole the show for me. On the half turn, receiving the ball on the half turn, the edge of the box, just worked off a throw in into James Forrest, and Forrest squares it for Kyogo. And we're level, but I thought throughout that first half, Matt O'Reilly was just different class.
Well, I tweeted during the game, I think I was responding to one of the tweets for the channel. I think he's going to be the breakout star this year. I really, really do. I think he's got a bit of everything that you would want in the modern midfield player, because he's quite industrious. He's no scared to get his hands dirty, or his legs, as the case may be, dirty, and put it a wee bit. Not saying that he's that type of player, but when it comes to having the ball, he's fluid in his movement. His passing is always incisive, always crisp. He's got a finish in him. And then there was another occasion as well where there was just a lovely wee turn that he did. Great technique, great skill to beat his man. And then he didn't quite get the finish that time. I think he put it too high. But he just seems to have that bit of everything. And in terms of the Ange Postecoglou way, Matt O'Reilly is absolutely a disciple of that.
And we've seen it again, seen his quality again with the second goal. Mm-hmm. Just buys himself half a yard, shifts onto the left foot, curls it round the defender. I think the goalkeeper's position is probably in question a wee bit, but it was a beautiful strike.
Aye, it was lovely. And he's got that in him. I'm quite confident of him on that left side, taking chances like that. But it wasn't even the quality of the finish for me. It was the composure. Because, I mean, you can't argue. It's a pre-season bounce game, so there's no as much riding on it as it would be if it was against Rangers or in a Champions League game. But I think he does seem to have that. He just seems quite unflappable. The kind of guy that's going to get flustered. And that's why I think he's about to have... I mean, he was good last season, but I think he's going to have a fantastic season this year. And I'm really excited to see the makeup of the midfield. Because when you look at the options that we've got now, there's reports that we're in for another midfielder, maybe a more kind of driving type, and then you've got the links that have came today. for a more attacking player. So you're wondering, where are you going to fit all these midfield options in? Because Celtic are blessed in that area of the pitch at the moment.
We are, particularly in those more advanced midfield positions, the likes of Hatate, we've talked about O'Reilly, Turnbull as well, who was involved tonight. As the game wore on that first half, I thought we did get stronger. We had Ostrava pinned back towards half time, and then obviously the game changes as it does in pre-season friendlies when there's so many changes in the second half. But I thought even after the second goal, some of the attacking play was really, really incisive in that first half.
Aye, no, I totally agree. I think that's another aspect though with most teams, unless you're looking at the kind of super teams with all the money, there's no many teams that can dip into their bench and go to what you might call their second string, definitely their second load of starters for this game, and bring on such quality. Lyle Abada and Yakimakis coming off the bench, I mean, that is some classy players. And Yakimakis' goal, man. What a goal that was.
Wow.
Aye, absolute cracker. And only really, really good strikers can take a ball like that where their body's against them. And it's not even about the kind of overhead kick element. It's about the body positioning that they manage to get to allow them to do that. And he's got that intelligence. That's the thing that he has, is he's just got that natural goal scorer's instinct of knowing where the goal is, where the ball is, and his body shape, what it needs to be in reflection to all of the rest of what's going on. And it's just, mate, they're entertaining. Like, you watch a bounce game against Banik Ostrava. Don't get me wrong, atmosphere was great. Credit to those fans. But you're never disappointed watching Celtic now, like, when it comes to entertainment-wise anyway.
Aye, definitely. On the Yakimakis goal, that's a technique we've seen from him a few times already. Obviously, I think he had the one at the end of the season where he's holding off the defender, kind of loops the overhead kick. I don't know if it's... I think that the Celtic Twitter was suggesting it was an overhead kick tonight. I don't know if you call it an overhead kick or a sort of side volley one. I mean, his leg's high in the air, but
scissor kick, kind of.
Scissor kick almost, aye. But great technique, great strength. Again, you see the different qualities. This is something I talked about with Kenny at the weekend. The different qualities between Kyogo and Yakimakis. Very stark, but two great goal scorers who give different dynamics to the front line.
Well, that's it. And how lucky are we to be in that position? Like, I think I've said in the channel before, Sutton, Larsson, Hartson was the last time we had a front line that packed as much punch as this one. And I love the contrast between them. I love the fact that they're different options. I'm also wondering if there's some way that Ange can contrive where he fits all of the different attacking options together at some point in some kind of jigsaw.
Guardiola hanging it, where you just play a goalkeeper and then 11 attackers.
Well, or you play Joe Hart as, I don't know, a defensive midfielder.
That's what he was playing the first half of the night anyway.
Looked that way, didn't it? I think that's a really interesting thing, though, tactically, because what that says to me is that Celtic are going to try, and I think maybe not as dramatically as what we saw in this game, because obviously it comes at a very high cost if it goes wrong. One loose pass and you could concede a goal. But I think what that says is Celtic are very much trying to make sure that the play is contained in the middle third and in the opponent's half of the pitch, you know? And I think that's a really good thing because, I mean, very simplistic to say, but the further away you are for your own goal, then the less likely you are to concede, unless your goalkeeper's standing at the halfway line. But I think that idea that ensuring that we pack other teams into their side of the pitch and looking to do that away from home, because that was the one thing that stood out to me as well last year watching Ange Postecoglou's team in Europe, was that we looked to do that to teams away from home. We did not vary the way that we played, regardless of being at home or being away. And that's really different to Celtic teams a years gone by. And that's something that, looking forward to Europe this year, I think we've got a scalp or two in us, man. I really do.
I hope so, man. Just on the goalkeeper in the centre circle, when I did that interview with Scott McIntyre, the journalist in Japan at the time, about Postecoglou coming here, he was like, what does the football look like? You better get used to the goalkeeper in the halfway line. And I think everybody thought, he can't be serious, yeah. But we've seen it tonight. Kieran Gillespie is asking thoughts on the Michu rumours, Paul. Well, today, Stuart, before we get back to the second half and the rest of the game, you were speaking to someone about Edouard Michu today. The video's on the channel, by the way, after the stream. You can go and watch it. So tell us who you spoke to and what your thoughts are, Stuart.
Aye, so it was an old pal of mine. A few folk that kind of sort of might have an awareness of what I do. I've worked in sports media for about a decade now. And when I used to work as a commentator in Paris, I knew a guy, Jonathan Johnson, and he was someone that was really, really well connected at Paris Saint-Germain throughout my time when I was working there. And to be honest, the guy couldn't have timed it any better, because after he took his kind of interest and got his feet under the door there, they get taken over by Qataris and they're now one of the global super clubs. But no, JJ's always been well connected there. So I thought when I saw the Michu stuff today, and particularly when I saw that Fabrizio Romano, albeit he loves a bit of drama, but he did say advanced talks. So that's what made me think that, you know, there might be some weight behind this. And I thought, I'll pop him a message, see if he's available. And thankfully he was this afternoon. So, and in the absence of your good self, mate, I stood in and asked the questions for a wee change. And he gave us a good flavour of both the way that the deal's kind of sitting and I think the kind of player that you'd be getting, and also the politics behind the deal from Paris Saint-Germain's point of view, because they're in quite an interesting situation as a club this summer. So I think if anybody wants to watch that, they should learn quite a bit about Michu and why. Because I mean, I think a lot of people are like, why are Celtic maybe in the race to get a guy of this calibre, of this quality? And hopefully that interview should shed a wee bit of light on it.
It should do, and we'll link up at the end of this video so you'll be able to see it there. PSG are in an interesting situation given they're paying somebody £1 million a week, and he's a player with a say in transfer, so maybe we'll need to ask Mbappe if Michu's allowed to leave. Anyway, back to the game tonight, Stuart. A lot of changes in the second half, changes in defence. You kind of knew we were going to concede a goal after all the changes in defence, didn't you?
I think as well. It's not even about the individual defenders. Sometimes people get caught up in like the players, like what players are on. It's not even necessarily that all the time. It's like, how do they, especially defensively, how do they work as a unit, right? And I think as soon as you took off, now I don't think Stephen Welsh is a better player than Christopher Jullien, but I think that Welsh is better at operating in Ange Postecoglou's system than Jullien. Absolutely, I do. And I think that was what was apparent to me once the changes were made. That was the side of the team that got noticeably weaker. I think obviously Lawal, you're forgiven sort of the kind of youthful element. On the other side of the coin, Ralston, I thought when he came on, I think it was his cross for one of the goals, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For Giacomakis' goal. And I think he gave what we would expect for him. But I think that's the thing. If you fit Ange Postecoglou's style of play, that's almost more valuable than getting a player in that's maybe a better footballer but doesn't. So if you think Anthony Ralston, he's not the best fullback in the world, but he knows how to play in this system. Same with Greg Taylor, same with other players in the team that are maybe the most blessed. So I think if we are adding, particularly in the defensive area, if we do add another body there, it's important to make sure that you get that recruitment right, because it needs to be someone that can come in and fit into that style of play immediately. And in terms of Jullien, I think that's maybe why Celtic have been leaning to try and move him on, as he just doesn't seem to me of the ilk, and he doesn't have the mobility maybe to really fit the style of play that the manager's looking for. And that's because I think he is a really good defender, but I just don't think he's an Ange Postecoglou defender, although I am willing to be proven wrong.
I think centre half is one that we're looking at in it. I think Jullien's future is in doubt, to say the least. And whether that, I think Anthony told us the other night that we're looking at centre half even before, or regardless of Carter Vickers coming in. So I do think that's an area of the pitch that we're looking at. In terms of the front three tonight, we've obviously seen that different front three. Talked about Giacomakis, great goal that he scored. He had a chance that was saved by the goalkeeper in Abada, smashed in the rebound. We also seen Dyson made that on the left-hand side. bring in another comment here from Archduke. Love Mader's work rate, but he misses some sitters. He did have a couple of chances tonight. He had a good headed chance that the goalkeeper saved and a left-footed chance that he blazed over. I love Dyson Mader. I think he's really, really good. I think in terms of the front three and all the attacking players, he does the best defensive work of anybody. But I think that just a couple of rough elements to his game technically.
I think you're absolutely right. We can alluded to some of this off air. You very much made the case for the defence, good man. I think Maeda, I think there are questions technically, and I think given the quality of the rest of the team, I think he's a player. You can't afford to miss the chances that he misses in Europe. And tonight, he had a couple of opportunities, one in the ground and one a header that should really be a gimme for any attacking player, and got it all wrong. And in the Champions League, you don't get two of those chances; you get one, and you've got to take it if you want to succeed. And that's what Celtic are looking to do this year. So, on that basis, you would have to say that you would imagine that he, in some of the games at least, might be in the outside looking in, just based upon that. But as you say, the flip side of that, Paul, is the technical, the defensive work and I think the tactical side of it. So defensively, the tactical side of it, he's got really well. He knows where he should be, and it's not just about the work rate. It's not just about traveling back and making sure you're tracking whoever's on that side. It's more about understanding tactically where you need to be within the greater shape of the team, and he can do that. But going forward, I think he's not quite as good at that. I think sometimes he relies on his pace more than the intelligence of his movement. That's what makes him different for Kyogo, who has both of those things, plus a whole lot more besides. But I'm no dissing Maeda. I think he's a useful squad player, but I wouldn't have him in my Celtic first 11. Definitely not.
Well, here's the question, right? We've talked a lot about the midfield three and what it'll look like in terms of what will be the first choice week in and week out. What's the best front three?
I've got to pick one. So it could be either of the strikers, depending on the situation. No wanting to sit in the fence. I would always go with Kyogo to start a game. Just because I think Giakoumakis is good at getting into spaces. Once defence is tired, he's got that intelligence. I think that's something that tells itself later in a game. Whereas Kyogo's got that thing where he can run folk ragged for the start. And then, I would personally go for Abada and Jota. Personally, that's what I would do. What about you?
I think my best front three is Kyogo through the middle. I think Jota on the right, and I have to go Maeda on the left.
Controversial, Paul.
I think Abada is brilliant, and I think he's going to develop even more this season. Brilliant numbers, really, really good in terms of being in the right position. Goal scorer, see it again tonight with the rebound. But I think
I panicked with that rebound, by the way, admittedly, because I like them to keep that a wee bit lower. I thought he was going to Van Vossen it, but he didn't, fortunately.
He didn't. So I think Abada is an impact player. I think he'll get plenty of starts this season, don't get me wrong, Abada. But I do think Jota on the right, Kyogo and Maeda on the left. I think Maeda, I agree that when the big chances come along in Europe, you need to take them. But I also think that defensively in Europe, again, in terms of fitting the system, knowing exactly what the manager wants, he's the man for that. Anything else that stood out to you tonight before we finish up? Any players that we've maybe not touched on?
I thought Siegrist looked to be an Ange Postecoglou style of goalkeeper when he came on. I thought he looked like someone that kind of
in the centre circle.
maybe not as dramatically as Joe Hart was doing, but he seemed to have, I think with goalkeepers some of the time, a lot is about body language and just the way they come across. And I thought he came across like somebody that doesn't seem overdaunted by the idea of having to displace a seasoned international. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he will, but I think he'll play some football this season that will be deserved, and I think he'll be a good goalkeeper for Celtic. And then Celtic in the past have had plenty of backup goalkeepers that have actually been pretty decent. I think he could be another one of them. So I think that's something to be aware of. And I want to touch on O'Reilly again. I'm so excited about his potential. I've seen in a couple of the comments as well mentions of Ideguchi, who I think is a bit of an unknown quantity as well. I think he could provide something really useful to the team next season. I don't think we've fully seen what he's about yet. And if we add more bodies to it, it's just interesting to see what that's going to look like. I still think we're light in the defensive area. I think that's the main area. So defence and defensive midfield, I'd like to see us have a bit more. But quite exciting. And the one thing I'd say is, I mean, it's one game. I thought Juranovic was pretty poor. I don't think he had a good game.
It's his first pre-season game, isn't it?
Aye, so that's obviously yet. Aye. So there's maybe a difference there just in sharpness. I thought you saw that with the goal that was conceded early on, and I just don't think he looked at his best. But aye, mate, it's 4 goals. How can you complain?
Aye, excellent. Another good workout for Celtic, another good pre-season victory. We'll link up that video that Stuart did today about Edouard Michut. That's it for this live full-time reaction. Like the video, comment with your own thoughts on the game below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you soon on the next video. Cheers.